What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update and another one on the road here. I'm currently in Del Mar, California for the drive of the Blazer EV. Stay tuned for a review of that here next week. But anyway, getting into all the news here this week, lots of exciting news to go over here. Before I get into it, I first want to also mention I'll be doing my usual weekly live stream here on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So join if you can. It's always a fun time hanging out and talking cards with you guys. But getting into the news here this week, there's an update here, a very interesting update this week about Toyota's simulated manual transmission that they're working on for their upcoming electric vehicles. And we've already heard about this. There's actually been some journalists that were able to test drive a prototype. And so this is a thing that is happening. It's out in the open. There's no speculation. This is like a confirmed thing. But just a few days ago, Toyota filed a new patent for it that Motor One just found this week. And so the patent interestingly describes up to 14 gears potentially being available for this transmission, and says that the driver will be able to select however many gears and the ratio spread that they want, and whether that's 6 gears or even less than 6, all the way up to 14, and potentially an unlimited amount being possible. Obviously wouldn't be practical after a while, but it still would use a fixed number of gates, but could return to a neutral position and unlock the next 6 gears once you've gone through the first 6, and either offer those or offer a downshift depending on what you want to do. So we'll see if that part of the programming actually makes it into production. But it's really cool that it seems like Toyota will actually let drivers customize their gear ratios on the fly, which is another like mind-blowing thing. We're already seeing, Hyundai and others working on these types of things with having these simulated gear shifts with paddle shifters and stuff. But if Toyota takes to the next level with having an actual gear shifter and also saying, hey, I'm in the mood to drive a 4-speed today, or a 5-speed, or a 6-speed, or a 10-speed, or whatever you want to do, it will potentially let you do that, at least according to this patent. Lots of awesome patents get filed from lots of companies all the time and don't actually ever see the light of day as far as, in a production vehicle for consumers. But, we know they're working on this, and so this just basically adds that customization there, and I think that that is brilliant, and I desperately hope that that makes it into the production version. That is so good. I love how all this extra customization, we've seen it in the past couple of decades with drive modes and all these different active exhaust, active suspensions, and customizing that stuff. And now this is like the next generation of that stuff, customizing your gear ratios, customizing your sounds, customizing how you want the vehicle to behave, whether you want gears or you don't want gears. You can have that depending on your mood. It is literally going to be the car to meet whatever mood you're feeling and whatever you want to do with it. And it's really kind of cool. I'm really jazzed about this, to be honest. And I can't wait to try it out, hopefully someday. And so to end out that little segment here, though, I have to repeat the hilarious sub-headline that Motor One gave their article for this little debut here, saying, finally, the real-life Fast and Furious transmission we've all been waiting for, which would be very fun to pretend to be in an eclipse and do, 12 upshifts there, whatever he did in the opening scene of Fast and Furious there. But anyway, very exciting to see that. Moving on here, Mercedes-AMG has just revealed the new CLE 53, following their recent trend here of not revealing the model year in the press release for some bizarre reason. They've done this on multiple cars now. So your guess is as good as mine as far as when this is coming out. Are we talking about something for 2024, 2025, 2030? Who knows? But it's new and it's coming someday. So anyway, it's the first AMG version of the CLE, and man, I think it looks great, especially in matte black. The regular CLE, look pretty nice, but the more aggressive styling here for the AMG version really adds a lot to the look. And there's an AMG Performance Studio package that goes even further with a bigger spoiler, bolder rear diffuser, and more. The track is 2.3 inches wider in the front and 3 inches wider in the rear than the regular car as well. It's powered by what AMG calls a thoroughly modified version of the 3-liter inline 6-mount hybrid setup that now does 443 horsepower and up to 443 pound-feet of torque, which it can provide for 12 seconds in an overboost mode. Normally, though, torque is 30 pound-feet less. This is an improvement, though, of 13 horsepower and 29 pound-feet of torque compared to the prior version of this engine, and it does this thanks to a set of new intake runners, exhaust manifold, a bigger turbo with 5.8 psi more boost, and a new electric compressor. It all results in a 4-second 0 to 60 time, and it still uses the AMG 9-speed multi-clutch transmission, and it's only available with all-wheel drive, although there is a drift mode that does make it rear-wheel drive on demand. It gets the AMG ride control hydraulic suspension and rear wheel steering, which connects to the ground with new Michelin Pilot Sport 5S tires, which should all add up to having fantastic handling, I'm sure. Inside, it gets the styling and the tech we've already seen in the other regular CLEs, just with the sportier seats, steering wheel, trim, all the usual stuff we see from the AMG, upgrades from other, model lines here. But there's no info on the price or release date, of course, which could be anything again since we don't know that model year, but still great to see, and I'm glad it didn't go down to a Turbo 4 like we saw with the C63. Now, there still will probably be a 43 version that could potentially use, some type of four-cylinder setup, and possibly a 63 version that maybe will use that four-cylinder, hybrid setup, since that does have more horsepower than this does. Or maybe they'll, gift us with a V8 in this CLE here as well. Kind of be a way of backpedaling from the C63, even though it's technically not a C63 anymore. But say, well, it's a new model, it's higher up in the range, so now we can have a V8 in it. We'll see what happens. Anyway, but very interesting to at least get that CLE 53. I think it's a great start here for that new CLE. Genesis this week has revealed the gorgeous Genesis X Gran Berlinetta Vision Gran Turismo concept this week. And while they did build a physical concept car, unfortunately this car appears to be strictly made just for the Gran Turismo video game. But man, whatever those Genesis designers are getting paid, it is not enough. Like, pick my jaw off the floor with that styling. I mean, geez, what a stunner. The interior is, of course, very concept-y as well, but they did add an interesting tidbit saying the carbon cabin strategically incorporates soft touch points wherever the driver comes into contact. So why worry about touch points in a car that's literally going to be driven just digitally in a video game? You could have just made it look nice. Why make it feel nice if no human's actually feeling it? But, maybe this actually has a potential. We've heard about there being some Bentley rivaling Genesis models coming, supposedly according to Genesis dealers. If you put something out that looks even remotely close to that, that's good enough looking to justify a 200 grand price tag or something, in my opinion, if it has the powertrain to back it up. But man, this thing. And also get even more excited about this. The powertrain is certainly something that is strictly going to be limited to the video game unless Genesis wants to really blow everyone out of the water. But this car in the video game has a V6 that doesn't specify what's going on. I think it's a twin turbo V6, I'm assuming, but it has a 10,000 RPM red line, 870 horsepower and 790 pound-feet of torque, along with a 201 horsepower E-motor for 1,071 horsepower total and 986 pound-feet of torque combined. So that would be, I would fall out of my chair if Genesis actually put that into production. But for those of you that have the Gran Turismo video game, you'll be able to enjoy the fantasy of what that car could be here starting in January is when it'll be in the game. And it's awesome that Genesis just made this, even if it's just for a fun art project, and a fun little promo thing for a video game. I mean, just so fun to see the designers run wild with, a concept like this. And it's cool they actually built one too. So very awesome to see that. Another awesome idea that sadly will never see production here is the Toyota X86D Concept that Toyota's CALTI design studio made back in 2012, but never showed the public until this week. I'm not sure why they pulled the wraps off of it, but man, it's a little bit of a bummer. Also very exciting though that they were strongly considering this as it's a four-door shooting brake style variant of the Scion FRS, and they considered it strongly enough that it got all the way to the life-size model stage, which means it went through all the digital stuff, went through like these smaller miniature versions, and they actually built a life-size version. That's how serious they were about this. And not only is it awesome they're even considering something like this, but they also say it would have retained the Subaru Boxer engine, the rear-wheel drive base platform of the FRS and the BRZ, and that this would have also added all-wheel drive as well. That's what everyone basically was wanting, was, an option for all-wheel drive, an option for a turbo, and so this would have at least given us the all-wheel drive, maybe not the turbo, but it's a huge shame they decided not to build this thing, along with, the convertible version of the FRS, which was called the FT86 Open Concept. That was another very exciting debut, back in the middle of the 2010s here that never saw the light of day as far as a production vehicle, but at least they showed that concept. This concept was never even shown outside of the design studio there, but man, they were so close to greenlighting that thing. And then all I can say, Toyota, is that it's not too late with the new GR86 generation. You can still do a convertible version. You can still do a four-door shooting brake with all-wheel drive. I'm sure it's even harder to justify now than it was back then, but that would be very exciting. So interesting to hear about what's going on behind the scenes here. Lots of exciting stuff, and really shows you there's a lot of enthusiasts within these car companies that are really pushing for awesome stuff, and some of it gets pretty far before the accountants shut it down there. But anyway, very interesting to see that, and cool of them to show that little behind the scenes look there. Toyota has also revealed a less exciting but still cool concept this week called the Urban SUV concept. It was revealed in Brussels and is likely only meant for Europe because while it looks reasonably sized, it's actually 3 inches shorter than a Corolla hatchback, which would probably make it a tough sell here in America, and especially since it's an EV, it'd probably be expensive and be small. These types of things make sense in those more urban settings in Europe and stuff. So Toyota did confirm that this concept previews a production version for Europe at least. I don't think there was anything specified about other markets, but this kind of stuff, it's pretty safe to assume we won't get it. Maybe they'll surprise us. Don't hold your breath, but interesting to see nonetheless. One small European EV that is coming to the US is the 2024 Fiat 500e, and it's coming soon, going on sale in the first quarter of 2024. So this week we got our first look at the final US version along with specs and pricing. So it'll launch with the 500e Red Edition, which is a collaboration with the Red charity. So all 500es will get the same setup though, regardless of what trim they are, with a single front motor that has 118 horsepower and 162 pound-feet of torque, which doesn't sound like much, but at under 3,000 pounds for an EV, it shouldn't be too bad for a little city car especially. So it runs a 42 kilowatt hour battery that's rated for 149 miles of range on the EPA test cycle, which also is low, but still 35 miles better than the current Mini Cooper SE, and the same as the Nissan Leaf. So unlike the Leaf though, this battery is liquid cooled, and it can also do 85 kilowatt fast charging, which is better than the Leaf and the Mini, and it can also do an 80% charge in 35 minutes. And also with the liquid cooling, compared to the Leaf, you're going to have more reliable battery performance, more longevity, all that as well. So inside they all get a 7-inch digital gauge cluster, a 10.25-inch touchscreen, and adaptive cruise control, and many other niceties as well. And it's nice that stuff's all standard, so that kind of justifies the higher price because also of the red collaboration here. The only color at launch will be red, but more will be coming eventually. But this red version is going to be starting at $34,095, including destination, which is more expensive than all those other EVs it competes with. But it appears this one comes pretty, fully loaded, like I said, with all that stuff you get there. Although you may get some higher trims someday, but the fact that there's that, also a portion of this goes to charity, helps to certainly justify that price a little bit more. And the fact that this is just newer, it's fresher. Again, you have the liquid cooling there, which you don't get in the Leaf, and you have the better range, which you don't get in the Mini. So, I think that this has a place, and I'm sure there'll be cheaper versions as well eventually to go along with the higher versions and stuff. But anyway, I'm just excited to see that a company is offering a new little city car in the States, finally, something that Europe gets. And by the way, this is one of the best-selling EVs in Europe. It's priced a little lower in Europe, but it's like selling like hotcakes over there. They have no need to sell it here. They're not going to make any money selling it here. Fiat has already said they don't care about how it sells. It's just a fun experiment for them. But kudos to them for blowing however much money they're blowing on this fun little experiment, and in return giving some Americans a fun, cute little runaround thing here. I think it's gonna be great. I'm very excited to hopefully test one of these out at some point. And I just wish that Volkswagen would do the same thing with the new Beetle. I think that'd be great. But the 500 is also a very fun little retro hatchback, and it seems like it's gonna be pretty well done. And if the Europeans are any indication, it seems like it's a very popular, great little vehicle. And so great to see that it seems like it's pretty well executed, at least as far as European tastes are concerned. But anyway, one fun little car that's actually being discontinued in just a few weeks here is the Jeep Renegade, which won't see a 2024 model year even. And this seems like a last-minute announcement, getting this news a few weeks before the end of the year here. And it's a bit of a surprise at least to me. I thought that they were selling pretty well. I see a lot of Renegades around my area and stuff, but apparently that's not the case. So Automotive News broke this story, which was then confirmed by Jeep, who say it's going away as the brand focuses its resources on SUV segments in North America that continue to grow. But it still sells the Compass and will still sell the Compass in the same segment, which is a segment that apparently doesn't grow. So I'm not sure if I buy their, excuse there, but I think it's just the end of the day, the Renegade just didn't sell as well as the Compass, and you know, these days especially, the Compass got a nice improvement where it's more upmarket looking now. You get like two-tone roofs and all that kind of stuff. And there's a nicer interior, bigger screens, more power. It just seems to be a more compelling purchase these days for basically the same money. And it just seems like, especially with Wrangler sales for the new JL version, really just skyrocketing. I think that people that want something that looks like a Wrangler just buy a Wrangler these days, and they're living with the compromises of that. I argued way back when the Renegade first came out, it's for people who want a Wrangler looking thing, but want something that drives, you know, like a normal commuter vehicle, and doesn't have all the sacrifices of a Wrangler. I think that resonated with a lot of people, but clearly, you know, it doesn't resonate with people anymore. And so, you know, it's the way it is. But, you know, this does leave the Jeep lineup pretty thin, because now that the Renegade's gone and also the Cherokee quit production earlier this year, all you have in the Jeep lineup now is, you know, that little Compass until you go up to a Grand Cherokee or a Wrangler. So it's really kind of a little bit of a gap there. Now, you know, there's talk that a new Cherokee will come eventually, but it might be electric and expensive. So I just feel like Jeep's kind of abandoning, you know, the lower price point there again, aside from the Compass, which also, by the way, still starts at 30 grand. So, you know, it's interesting to see how they're playing it. I think Jeep's just, you know, pushing towards the upmarket thing and doubling down on that, the higher profit margins of that, like everyone else is. And so anyway, it's just sad to see, you know, relatively affordable. I mean, the Renegade's got expensive with options and kind of were uncompetitive whenever you got to those higher trims. But, you know, still was fun to see something a little cheaper from Jeep that, you know, was still fun and had some character. And so for that reason, I'm a little sad to see it go. But one company that's planning on beefing up its lineup here pretty quickly is Honda, who announced that they'll be showing a new global electric vehicle series for the first time at CES in January, and reiterated its goal to introduce 30 new electric vehicles globally by 2030 and sell 2 million of them globally by then, before transitioning to 100% zero emissions vehicles by 2040. So we get a teaser of a very futuristic concept, which suggests to me that whatever we're seeing next month maybe will give us an idea of the segments they plan to compete in, but nothing else beyond that, because this, I mean, based off of that, I mean, nothing we're going to see is going to be an accurate preview of production models, unless this is like the only crazy one and there's going to be more normal stuff there. We'll see, you know, what they end up showing off here, but interesting to, you know, get that announcement from them, and, you know, we'll see what happens in January, but interesting to see that. And some other coming EV news here. Sandy Munro interviewed Elon Musk, who claimed that Tesla's lower priced car is still coming and that it's quite advanced with how far along it is, supposedly, saying that he's reviewing production plans weekly. And so he added that the revolution in manufacturing that will be represented by that car will blow people's minds. It is not like any car production line that anyone's ever seen. And, you know, I mean, Gigapress is already mind-blowing. I mean, Toyota took apart a Model Y with a Gigapress thing, and they were like so mind-blown that they reverse engineered the Gigapress, and that's what we saw in the Tokyo Motor Show there, you know, Japan Mobility Show or whatever, with the future Lexus thing coming like 2026 will incorporate Gigapress-like stuff that we've seen for a couple of years already in the Model Y. Like, and that's Toyota and how fast, how, you know, long it takes them to catch up. So if this truly is, you know, coming relatively soon, and, you know, it's as impressive as Mr. Musk, you know, claims it is, I mean, that could really leapfrog Tesla once again ahead, and, you know, get a, you know, affordable $25,000 to $30,000 car, electric car out before, you know, GM manages to do a new Bolt, before all this other stuff. I mean, that could be huge and really help to boost their sales big time with a finally truly affordable little electric vehicle. And, you know, we'll see how good it would be, of course, and all that. But anyway, very interesting to get that. I mean, we know that Tesla has a history of very slow rollouts and over-promising and under-delivering as far as, you know, timelines and things like that. So definitely take this one with a heavy dose of skepticism. But, you know, if they can actually execute on this, you know, in a timely manner, that could be, you know, a really big deal for them. So we'll wait and see. I mean, we're still waiting for the Model 3 refresh to show up here in the States. So, I mean, you know, I definitely wouldn't hold your breath for this new car, but, you know, we'll see. Hopefully it does come sooner than we're expecting. One thing that is materializing a little bit faster here are more fast chargers. And so last year I reported on GM partnering with EVgo and the Pilot and Flying J travel centers for better charging stations along highways. And so they announced this week that the first 17 locations have now been opened in 13 different states, with a total of 25 stations before the end of this month here in December, and a total of 200 by the end of 2024. So really ramping up quickly, with the ultimate plan here being to have 500 of these stations. And so as you can see, they'll appear more like gas stations with lighting, roofs, and even staff, since they will be full convenience stores like other Pilot and Flying J locations. And I think this is the right direction. They even say they're going to have some spaces there so you can pull a trailer through and all that. Really smart, and I just think that's, you know, great to see that they're actually delivering. You know, there's all these talks of everyone doing fast chargers, and you know, this is the money's meeting the pavement here, and we're having actual progress and actual stuff going into the ground here, so that's great. Mercedes is also delivering on their charger plans here. So I actually missed this story last month, but it's convenient I was able to find it here this week. They also opened their first location of the Mercedes charging network in their Georgia headquarters, but they are rolling out much more of these, with several more opening just this month in Texas and the Southeast, and ultimately resulting in 2,500 chargers across 400 charging hubs by the end of the decade. And they'll all be open to all brands, by the way. Even though it's Mercedes branded, it'll have a Mercedes experience, but it can charge anything. And they'll also be some of the fastest chargers around, if at least for now, because they'll be doing 400 kilowatt capacity for the charging there. So I mean, that is top notch. And they'll also be including roofs and some nicer amenities. There's even going to be solar panels on the roof to generate some electricity there as well. There's also lighting, as you can see, along with a lounge that includes restrooms and refreshments, which is great. And many of them will also be located alongside Simon Malls or Buc-ee's travel centers, they say too. So that'll give you even more convenience and even more amenities there beyond just what Mercedes is going to be offering there. And so they also added these locations will all be powered also by 100% renewable energy and are carbon neutral. So that's also really nice too. These are going to be clean, helpful charging locations, and just great to see these charging plans, again, coming to fruition to help improve this infrastructure, which everyone loves to complain about. Here's the improvements. They're coming. We got chargers popping up every single day here, and nice ones, not just some random little pole sticking out of the weeds in a Walmart parking lot or something. We're talking about really nice high-end stuff here, and I think this will really help as this EV wave eventually picks back up again and does potentially become the future here. So anyway, very good to see that. And then lastly, I want to thank all of you that are members of the Maran Motoring Club. So we did have one new member that joined and signed up on their own here, with a few new members that were also able to join thanks to the membership gifts by the Truck and Car Guy and Kyle. So and that was back in last week's live stream. So huge thanks to Kyle and Truck and Car Guy for your generosity of gifting all those memberships. And I also want to give a huge thank you and a big welcome to Idaho Spud, who joined as well. So I very much appreciate the support from all of you. It means a lot, and hope you're enjoying those membership perks there, Idaho Spud. And I also want to also give a welcome here to the new members that were able to join thanks to those membership gifts. And so big welcome here to Pure Race Performance S5 Powered, Connor K, and Ludicrous Fool 79. So I hope you're all also enjoying those membership perks so far, and I look forward to hopefully chatting with more of you here in the live stream here this Sunday. For anyone else that would like to join and get that priority answering in the live streams, as well as all the other membership perks, there's always join buttons here on the video page, on the channel page, and also a link in the description. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Please also like and subscribe to keep these videos coming, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.